Welcome to our second episode in our practical project management series. And today we're going to talk about the project onion, which is what I like to call the project environment. I'm trying to make it a thing. But basically, take a look at all the different layers of influences that surround our project that could impact our project and things we have to think about when we're planning and managing our projects. I like to think of the project environment like the layers of an onion. At the very center, we have the project, and maybe that's surrounded by the program layer if the project is part of a program. And then we have the organizational layer, where the company or organization where the project is taking place. And then maybe an industry layer of the project is taking place in a certain industry, and a market layer and a regulatory layer, all the laws and regulations we have to abide by. So let's start with the project layer, right at the center. You got the project manager, ourselves, and the team, and maybe some core stakeholders. Now, first, the project manager. Let's look inward for a moment and think about what are we bringing to the project? What preconceived notions, what experience, what knowledge? Have we done a project like this before? Where do we need to look for help, maybe, to help guide us and figure things out? Maybe we have to consult with some subject matter experts. The most important thing to figure out is what we know and what we don't know, where we need help, and what we still need to learn. But also in this project layer, we want to look at the team, or maybe we don't have the team yet, and we're just looking at our pool of resources that are available to us to help recruit that team. What capabilities do they have? What preconceived notions are they bringing to the project? Have they worked this way before, or is this a new thing to them? For example, say you've been tasked to deliver an innovative new product. And with your project management experience, you think, hey, the way to go here is an agile, iterative approach. But then you realize that your team has never worked in an agile environment before, and that would be sort of difficult. That for you to introduce an agile environment, you're going to be met with a lot of resistance and a lot of confusion. So maybe you decide, okay, this isn't the best time to introduce an agile environment, so we're going to go with the old-fashioned command and control type of project management, where you define tasks, delegate those tasks, and supervise the work being done. Or maybe you do decide to go ahead with your agile iterative approach, but at least you're going in with eyes open, and you have a more realistic understanding that this is going to take a little more time. You're going to have to convince people and persuade people along the way, and maybe even provide some training and some coaching and some guidance. And next we have the program level. And here the first thing I would think about is, how does this project serve the overall program objectives? And are there dependencies? Is there another project or phase that is producing something that we're going to be building on in our project? Or are we producing something that other projects or phases are going to be building on? And I would also think about the norms and culture that exist within the program, and the program manager and their management style. The next layer is for the performing organization. Every project exists within a company, within an organization, and that organization is going to have its own company culture. There's going to be policies and procedures that we're supposed to follow. There's strategic objectives that we're supposed to be contributing to. So think about where your project fits within that organization and how the project objectives are serving the organizational objectives. This should be documented in things like the business case, or if there's a project charter, project brief, some sort of project description document. Now, in terms of company culture, a common complaint that I've heard from people is, oh, my company, we have a real problem with blame culture. But as project managers, we want to organize a team and create an environment for our team that's safe and collaborative. And how do you do that within a bigger blame culture? Well, there's no perfect answer to that, but some basic things that I would start with is working with my team to develop some ground rules. I know a lot of people do a team charter together where they decide how are we going to work together, what what is going to be our mechanism to deal with conflicts and to make decisions together, and we talk openly about the blame culture within the company, and we brainstorm together collaboratively about how as a team we can try and protect ourselves somewhat from that blame culture and create a safe environment, at least within our team and during our team meetings. Or say you're moving to a new company and a new job, don't expect that whatever brought me success at the old place is going to bring me success in this new position. You have to reevaluate the environment. After all, you're moving from one onion to another onion, and as we know, all onions are different. The next layer to think about is the industry layer. If your project work exists within a certain industry. Now there's going to be certain standards and compliance expectations. So in your planning documentation, in your project plan, you simply address that and say, here is how we're going to comply with these standards. And make sure you have the appropriate resources and everything available to actually do that. On the next layer, we got the market layer. Your project usually exists within a certain market. Say you're bringing a new product to market. Paying attention to what your competition is doing is pretty important. Maybe they're working on a similar product and you and your stakeholders decide, hey, we want to speed this up a little bit so we can be the first to market. Or we want to think about what is making our product unique in this very competitive market. So looking at trends, looking at forecast, paying attention to market resources and market research could really help you in that area. And the last layer I want to talk about is the regulatory layer, all the laws and regulations that you have to abide by. It might be because you're working globally across certain borders. And so the different countries you're working with all have their own laws. Or it could be industry regulations. Whatever the case, it's the same thing here. In your planning documentation, you say, this is how I'm going to comply with these regulations. So you yourself might not be an expert on these laws. So here's where you need to go to the appropriate subject matter experts and legal experts, or do research using the different legal resources or industry resources to make sure you and your team are clear on the legal expectations for your projects. So know your onion. And maybe your onion looks like mine with the project, program, organization, industry, market, and regulatory layers, or maybe yours is slightly different. But whatever it is, you need to know it, and I'll leave you with a summary of my tips on how to navigate it. First, know what you know and what you don't know. Seek advice from your stakeholders and the subject matter experts that you need. Research policies, project reports, and lessons learned from within your organization. Utilize consultants and industry resources and market research companies outside of your organization when necessary. Address how you intend to comply with company policies, industry standards, and regulations in your planning documents. And of course, continue to monitor the different environmental layers throughout your project. Now, it's clearly important to understand all these environmental layers when you're planning for your project, but if you don't continue to monitor these layers throughout your project, you might miss some pretty big risks that could be coming your way. If there's a regulatory change or a big shift in the market, you're going to want to know about that. That could really sideline your project if you're not paying attention. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if so, feel free to click like or leave your feedback in the comments section. And stay tuned for episode 3. But in the meantime, good luck with all your projects and stay safe. And don't forget to hashtag Project Onion. We're going to make this trend like a Maggie Smith poem.